I never thought I'd be the guy to find out his wife, Lisa, was cheating on him through a security camera. I mean, we always thought we had a pretty solid marriage. We had our rough patches, sure, but I believed she loved me, and she'd never do anything to ruin what we had. That was the narrative I told myself, at least. We'd been married for 7 years, and honestly, I thought things were stable. Routine, maybe, but stable. She was a little bitchy sometimes, yeah, but I liked that about her. She's fiercely independent, stubborn as hell, and she doesn't take shit from anyone. That's why I trusted her. Or at least I thought I did. Lately, though, something felt off. She started being more dismissive, more argumentative about small things. I'd come home from work and she'd be on her phone, texting or scrolling through social media like she was hiding something. She'd snap at me if I asked about her day, roll her eyes when I tried to have a conversation. She even started staying late at her job, claiming she was working on a project, but I could tell her tone was different. She was hiding something. I didn't have any concrete proof, just those little gut feelings gnawing at me. One day, I finally decided to do a little digging. It was late in the evening, and I was editing some podcast episodes we'd been working on. Lisa hosts a podcast with her friend Jennifer. It's not a big deal, just a hobby for her, but she's passionate about it. I was going through the files, getting ready to upload the latest episode, when I noticed something strange. The studio where they record is in our basement, but I rarely go down there unless I need to fix something. Anyway, I decided to check the security footage from the past few nights, just to see if there was anything unusual. I mean, I was curious, and honestly, I'd been suspicious about her late nights. As I sifted through the footage, my stomach dropped. There in the grainy black and white video, I saw Lisa sneaking into the studio after hours. Fine, maybe she was working late, but then I saw her meet someone, Jennifer's co-host, a guy named Mark. They kissed. They kissed a lot. It wasn't just a friendly peck, it was full-on passionate, hands all over each other. My heart started pounding. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The woman I loved, the woman I trusted, was cheating on me with my podcast co-host. It was a gut punch. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. How did I miss this? How long has this been going on? I kept watching, sick and angry, realizing that every late night, every whispered conversation, every time she snapped at me over the phone, she was probably with him. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. The footage kept replaying in my mind over and over. It was like some sick, twisted betrayal scripted out right in front of me. I kept asking myself, how could she do this? After everything, after all the years, she's out there with some guy lying to my face. And then the anger started to bubble up. Not just anger, pure, boiling rage. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and honestly, kind of stupid for not seeing it sooner. I started to question everything about our relationship, about her. How many times did she lie? How long has this been going on? Was I just too blind or too comfortable to see the truth? That's how I found out. Not through some confrontation or confession. No, I just looked at the footage and everything fell into place. I'd been living under this illusion and now I couldn't pretend anymore. The trust I once had, completely shattered. I knew I had to confront her, but I didn't even know what to say at first. I was just numb. I watched her with that guy, and all I could think was that I'd been played for a fool. She lied about everything, her late nights, her excuses, her whole attitude, just to hide her little affair. I didn't plan this, but a part of me knew I had to face her, had to see how she'd spin this, what lie she'd come up with next. I was already preparing myself for the storm, but I also knew that nothing would be the same after this. Nothing. The next morning, I woke up with that heavy feeling in my chest, like I'd been punched again in my sleep. I kept thinking about what I saw, the kiss, the hands on each other, the way they looked at each other like they shared some secret I'd never be part of. I knew I needed to confront her, but I also knew I had to do it carefully. I wasn't going to just accuse her without anything to say. Still, I couldn't sit on this anymore. I had to hear her side, even if I already knew the truth. Lisa was in the kitchen, acting like everything was normal, pouring coffee, scrolling on her phone, the usual bitchy attitude she always had in the mornings. I felt my jaw tight. I didn't want to yell or scream, not yet. I just wanted her to face what she'd done. I calmly sat down at the table and looked at her. She glanced up, her eyes narrowing a little as she sensed something was off. So, I started, my voice steady but cold. I saw the footage. Last night I checked the security camera footage from the studio. Her eyes flicked to mine and I saw that flicker of panic though she tried to hide it. She scoffed, pretending to be annoyed. "What are you talking about? I don't know what you saw, but you're being ridiculous." I shook my head. "Don't lie, Lisa. I saw you sneaking out late, meeting with Jennifer's co-host Mark, and I saw the way you kissed him. How long has this been going on?" Her face hardened and she crossed her arms. "You're overreacting as usual. You're just paranoid. You think everything is about you, but this is none of your business." That's how she always spun it, like I was the crazy one for even questioning her, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I could see through her bullshit. "Don't lie to me," I said quietly. "I'm not stupid. I saw it with my own eyes." "You've been cheating on me, Lisa, with my co-host. How long has this been going on? Weeks? Months?" She rolled her eyes, scoffing again. "Oh, please, you're just jealous. You think I'd cheat on you with some guy I barely know? That's ridiculous. Mark's just a friend and this is all in your head." She tried to brush it off like she was angry I even brought it up. But I could see the flicker of guilt behind her eyes, the way her voice cracked just a little. She was lying badly. I felt the rage bubbling again, but I kept my voice steady. "Do lie to my face, Lisa. I saw the footage. You were with him after hours and you kissed him. That's not just friendship, so what is it? Are you fucking him?" Her eyes flashed with contempt. "You're disgusting for even asking that. I don't owe you an explanation for anything. You're just insecure. Maybe if you paid more attention, you'd see how miserable you make me. I don't need your stupid podcast and your stupid assumptions." That word, stupid, hit a nerve. I was furious, but I also felt a deep ache of betrayal. I hadn't expected her to just admit it, but I'd hoped for some kind of honesty, some remorse. Instead, she was deflecting, calling me insecure, turning the tables like I was the problem. I stood up, my fists clenched. "If you're so miserable, Lisa, maybe you should just leave. I don't want to be with someone who lies to my face, who cheats behind my back. I don't know how you could do this to us, but I promise you, I'm not going to sit around and be played for a fool anymore." She shot me a venomous look, sneering. "You think you're so hurt? Please, you're not the only one who's been unhappy. Maybe I was trying to find some happiness somewhere else, and frankly, I don't regret it." That's when I knew this was the end of the line. She lied through her teeth, trying to make herself look like the victim, but I saw her for what she was, a selfish, manipulative woman who'd betrayed everything we had. I didn't want to hear her excuses anymore. The pain was sharp, but I knew I had to get out of the house, step back before I did something I'd regret. I told her I needed space. I grabbed my keys and left. I didn't even bother to pack anything. I just drove away, feeling like I'd lost part of myself in that house. I felt numb, but also oddly relieved that I finally knew the truth. No more pretending, no more lies. Just pain and the cold reality of betrayal. After I left the house, I drove aimlessly, not really knowing where I was heading. My mind was a mess, angry, hurt, betrayed. I kept replaying the footage, her words, everything she said during the confrontation. Part of me wanted to break things off. Immediately, part of me wanted to storm back and scream at her, demand answers. But deep down, I knew I needed to slow down, breathe, and think clearly. I was a guy who always believed in honesty, in loyalty, and here I was, blindsided by her lies and infidelity. It was like my world had been turned upside down overnight. I ended up in a small coffee shop not far from our house. I sat there, nursing a cup, trying to process what was happening. I kept asking myself, why? Why did she do this? What was I missing? The truth was I couldn't find a good reason. She'd always been a bit bitchy, sure, but I thought that was just her personality. I never imagined she'd cheat, let alone with someone I trusted. It felt like a punch to the stomach, and honestly, I still kept expecting her to call or message, trying to deny everything, but I knew better. The footage didn't lie. While I sat there, my phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. It was Lisa. My stomach twisted. I hesitated, then finally answered. "What do you want?" I said, my voice cold. There was silence on the other end for a moment. Then she spoke, her voice dripping with false innocence. "Look, I know I messed up. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen, okay? It was a mistake, a stupid one. I was frustrated, and I guess I don't know, got caught up in the moment, but I love you. I want us to work this out." I snorted, feeling almost laugh at how ridiculous she sounded. You don't love me. You love your ego, your lies, your little affair. You think saying sorry is going to fix this. It doesn't work that way, Lisa. You cheated on me with my podcast co-host, and you expect me to just forgive and forget after I saw you kiss him. She tried to plead, but her voice cracked. Please just give me a chance. I'll fix this, I swear. I'll cut him out of my life. I don't want to lose us over this. I shook my head, feeling a mixture of pity and fury. You don't get to decide that anymore. You lost that right when you kissed him behind my back, while I was thinking. We were building a life together. You were sneaking around, lying to my face. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. Honestly, I don't want to. The line went dead and I was left staring at my phone. That's when it hit me, how completely I'd been played. I'd always known she was difficult, bitchy, and stubborn, but I never thought she'd be capable of this kind of betrayal. It was like everything I believed in was a lie. I was angry at her, but also angry at myself for not seeing the signs earlier. How did I miss it? How could I have been so blind? I finished my coffee, paid the bill, and headed home. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw the house look so normal, so innocent from the outside. But I knew better. I knew what was inside waiting for me. I hesitated, feeling the weight of what I needed to do next. I had no idea how we were going to fix this, or if it was even possible. All I knew was that my trust was broken, and I'd never see her the same way again. I walked inside and the silence hit me like a blow. No Lisa, no apology, just emptiness. I stood there for a moment, staring at the living room, feeling like I'd just stepped into a different world. The betrayal cut deep and the aftermath was just beginning. I didn't sleep that night. Not really. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything I'd seen and heard. The footage, her words, her lies, each one burrowing into me deeper. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I could have been so blind to what was happening right under my nose. I mean, I'm not some naive guy. I work in a field that's all about catching clues, analyzing data, figuring out what's really going on. But with Lisa, I guess I just wanted to believe she was different, that she loved me enough to be faithful. Turns out I was wrong. By morning, I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just sit around feeling sorry for myself. I was furious, but also deeply hurt. The betrayal felt like a knife twisting every time I thought about it. I knew I had to confront her again, this time in a way that was final. I decided I'd give her the chance to come clean on her own terms. I wasn't going to beg or plead. I just wanted honesty. When I got back to the house, Lisa was in the kitchen again, pretending everything was normal. She was pouring herself a glass of orange juice, looking like she hadn't a care in the world. I didn't say anything right away. I just stared at her. Finally, I spoke. I want to talk, I said, voice low and steady. No more lies. No more pretending this is nothing. You lied to me every single day, Lisa. You cheated on me with Mark, and I deserve to hear the truth from your mouth. What the hell is going on? Her face twisted into a sneer. Oh, now you want the truth? After all that shit you saw, honestly, I don't owe you anything. You're just jealous because I don't want to be your doormat anymore. That's why you're throwing accusations around. I'm tired of your insecurity, your constant suspicion. Maybe if you were more supportive, I wouldn't have had to look for happiness somewhere else. I clenched my fists. Supportive. You're calling me insecure. Lisa, I found you kissing another man in the studio. That's not insecurity, that's betrayal. That's you throwing away everything we built because you're too stubborn to admit you fucked up. She rolled her eyes, scoffing. Look, I don't know what you want me to say. Yeah, I fucked up, but I'm not some monster. I didn't mean for it to happen. It's just, I was frustrated. You're never around, always working those stupid podcasts. I needed something, someone. And somehow I got caught up in it. I regret it, okay, but I love you and I want to fix this. That's when I lost it. I felt a surge of pure rage flood through me. You love me. You cheated on me with my friend and you think regret is enough. You think I can just forgive and forget because you say a few words. You're a bitch for doing this, Lisa. You're selfish and manipulative and I don't believe a word you're saying now. She looked furious, like I was the one in the wrong. You think you're perfect. You think your podcast and your work are more important than I am. Maybe if you paid more attention, I wouldn't have had to go looking for affection elsewhere. But no, you're just too busy building your stupid little empire to notice what's right in front of you. I shook my head, feeling that strange combination of anger and sadness swelling inside. This wasn't just about the affair anymore. It was about everything: her lying, her dismissiveness, her complete disregard for me. I was tired of her bullshit, tired of her acting like she was the victim. I knew I had to make a decision then and there. "Fine," I said, voice trembling but firm. "If you're so unhappy, maybe it's better if we just go our separate ways. I don't want to be with someone who lies to me, who sneaks around behind my back. I deserve better than this, someone who respects me enough not to cheat and lie." She stared at me, her eyes blazing. "You think you're so righteous, don't you? Well, I don't care. I'm not going to sit here and beg you to stay. Do whatever you want, I don't give a shit anymore." And with that, she turned and stormed out of the room. I just stood there, stunned. More than anything, I felt the crushing weight of betrayal. I knew things would never be the same between us. I felt like I was losing not just my wife, but also the trust I'd once had in everything we shared. That day marked the beginning of a long, painful process of figuring out what my next step would be. I knew I couldn't stay in that house, not after what I'd seen and what she'd admitted. I needed space, clarity, and a way to rebuild myself from this wreckage. But deep down, I also knew this was the end of the line for us. And honestly, part of me was just tired, tired of the lies, tired of feeling hurt, tired of being betrayed by someone I loved so much. Over the next few days, everything felt numb. I stayed out of the house as much as I could, crashing at a friend's place or just driving around aimlessly. The house was too quiet, too empty without her. I kept thinking about what I'd seen, her lies, her bullshit excuses. Honestly, I felt like a fool for trusting her at all. That whole time I was convinced we had something solid, something worth fighting for. Turns out I was just fooling myself. I spent hours going over everything: her words, her actions, the footage. How could someone I thought loved me do something so cruel? I kept asking myself if I'd missed signs, if I'd been blind or just too comfortable. The truth was, I was devastated. Not just because she cheated, but because she lied for so long and thought she could get away with it. That feeling of betrayal didn't just sting, it tore a hole through my chest. I'd trusted her with my life, and she'd thrown all that away with some stupid affair. One afternoon, I finally decided I needed to talk to her again. Not to argue, not to scream, just to get some clarity. I went back to the house, and she was in her bedroom, packing a suitcase. She looked at me with that same bitchy smirk, like she thought she was in control. I didn't say a word at first. I just stood there watching her pack her things. "Going somewhere?" I asked, my voice hoarse. She didn't look up. "Yeah, I decided I'm better off. On my own. Maybe I need some space, and clearly you're not the guy I thought you were." Her tone was dismissive, like she was already over it. I clenched my fists. "You're not going anywhere until we talk. I want to know what the hell is going on. Did you really think I'd just let this slide? That I'd be okay with you sneaking around behind my back, kissing that bastard Mark and lying for months? I deserve an explanation, Lisa." She scoffed, finally turning to face me. "An explanation? You want an explanation? Fine." I was bored. I was tired of your stupid podcast obsession and your workaholic bullshit. You never paid any attention to me, so I found someone who actually cares, someone who makes me feel alive. And I don't regret it. I don't care if you're hurt. I only care about myself now. That hit me harder than I thought it would. Her words, her attitude, so cold, so unapologetic. It was like she'd given up on us already, like she didn't even care what I felt. I felt a mixture of anger, disappointment, and despair all at once. I realized then that this wasn't just about her cheating. It was about her turning her back on everything we'd built on me. I looked her straight in the eyes. "You're a selfish bitch. You think you're the only one who's hurt. Do you even understand what you've done to me? I loved you. I trusted you. And you just threw that all away like it was nothing. Well, I hope you're happy with your new life, because I sure as hell am done trying to fix this." She rolled her eyes and turned back to her bag. "Whatever. Good luck with your little podcast and your perfect little life. I don't want to be a part of it anymore." That was the moment I knew it was over. I didn't argue anymore. I just watched her walk out of the room, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor. She left that day, leaving me with a flood of emotions I couldn't even begin to process. I was hurt, angry, and exhausted, all at once. The house felt emptier than ever after she left. I thought I was doing okay, that I was moving forward, but now I realized I was. I was just pretending. I didn't know how to pick up the pieces, but I knew I had to start somewhere. Maybe I'd focus on the podcast, pour my energy into work, or just try to rebuild my sense of trust in myself. One thing was clear. I wasn't going to let this define me. Not forever. But right now, I just needed to breathe and somehow find a way to heal from this betrayal. Weeks went by, and I threw myself into work, more than I ever had before. The podcast, my job, anything to keep busy and drown out the constant ache in my chest. Some days were better than others, but the numbness never fully left. Every time I sat alone in my apartment, I'd think about her, what she did, how easily she lied, how she thought she could just walk away from everything we had built. Honestly, I felt like I was rebuilding myself from the ground up, but the scars of her betrayal stayed with me. I knew I couldn't keep going like this forever. The pain was raw, sure, but I also started to realize something important. I had been so focused on her lies and her betrayal that I'd lost sight of myself. I'd let her manipulate my trust and my feelings, and that made me angry at myself. I'd been too damn loyal, too trusting, and it almost cost me everything. But I also understood now that I had to reclaim my life, piece by piece. One day, I finally sat down and made a decision. I wasn't going to let her ruin me, not completely. I'd rebuild, not just my trust in others, but in myself. I decided to take a break from the podcast, step back from everything that reminded me of her. I needed clarity. I needed to heal. Slowly, I began to see that I was stronger than I thought, not because of what she did, but because I refused to let that betrayal define me. Looking back, I realize how much I've learned from this nightmare. Trust is fragile. People can hide their true selves behind a mask, and sometimes the worst betrayals come from those we love the most. I don't regret the love we shared, but I do regret ignoring the warning signs. Most of all, I regret not listening to my gut sooner. Now I focus on me. I've started therapy, working through the pain, the anger, the disappointment. I've also started reconnecting with friends, people who remind me what genuine loyalty and kindness look like. I've learned that sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself again. And honestly, that's what I needed, something to shake me out of the complacency I'd been living in. So, to anyone out there going through something similar, here's my advice. Don't ignore the signs. Don't stay in a situation where you're being lied to and betrayed just because you want to believe in the best. Because at the end of the day, the only person who can truly save you is yourself. And trust me, you're stronger than you think. This pain will fade, and someday you'll look back and realize that you survived and that you're better for it.